So she was just getting out of prison. I was consulting with another therapist who was working with her daughter, young child, 5 years old, and the mom was having so much guilt. This is something that was a challenge that the mom was having. So we put that down because the therapist that I was consulting with really kept coming back to that, like, it's just the guilt, it's just the guilt. And I tell mom, have some grace, have some grace. And I thought, let's stop and write it down with mom. So this is the process that can be done with the parent or something that you do separately to keep in mind when you're talking to them. Because if we don't have the goal in mind, we can get right into the same vortex of that limbic system, problem saturated limbic system with them. So instead of this guilt, 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 which we can all feel and it kind of makes sense, and poor woman, right? Um, what would be the opposite? What is the small positive goal? And it is, I thought, you keep saying the word grace. What would that look like? What does grace look like? Well, look, actually, we start to look at what does guilt look like? It looks like there's like thoughts to it. Like, I was gone too long. I was in prison for too long. I'm no good. Who do I think I am? And maybe has like a scowl and it has like a facial and a body posture. Maybe shoulders are down. Guilt. What does grace look like? Deep breath, shoulders back. You know what? There is things that have survived. I know I can do this. My daughter still loves me. I can see it in her eyes. What can I do? There is forgiveness in this world. So grace, we start to focus on that. Instead of trying to take apart the problem, let's build up the solution. So getting creative with these small positive goals, I think, can do so much of the work, so much of the work with parents. We're just going to help them put it down. Just put it down on paper. What is a small positive goal? Again, these are small positive goals and inspired vision. So when you're with the parent, list their top concerns first. I do this in the intake session. After the first 7 questions, which is sort of a get to know you, but if I didn't get to know them, I might ask those questions, the first 7 questions at the intake. I set aside an hour and a half for parents only. So really important. I start the small positive goals after 30 minutes of asking them the history. Tell me about your pregnancy, or tell me about the pregnancy, the child, when the child was in utero. Tell me about the birth, delivery, everything that you know, early infancy, toddlerhood, and so on, till our present moment. Tell me about what's going on right now. And once we have all that, we can sort of together, and I coach them to find the top concerns first, 2 or 3 top concerns. It can become pretty clear. It can be the anxiety, the meltdowns, the talking back, struggling grades, write it down. And find the opposite in the second column. Again, get as creative as you can if you want to. And sometimes it is just plainly the opposite. And ask yourselves, is this a goal? Is it small, or do we need to break it down further? For example, can I make a video of the goal? For example, siblings get along better. How would that get along? How would that look as a small positive goal? How can they get along better? So maybe asking for a turn, respecting each other's boundaries, having some territorial boundaries, like, this is your sister's side. If you want to use her stuff, ask for a turn. That's stuff that we can sort of break it down with parents. So do take your time with this. And even if it may seem like that's, far off and hard, that's why we want to really make it small and positive. So I really wish you luck with this one, and just print it out or just make a T-chart. So right now, think to a current or past client. What are the top 2 or 3 challenges? As small as you can, and being positive in real life. Like, how is this showing up in real life? So sometimes we say get along better, but that doesn't show up in real life.